Welcome to Financials with Ahawo. It's such a pleasure to be with you as we continue on our podcast, Financial Wellness Conversations. And yes, we are starting a new series on, drum rolls, investment. So we've been talking about, when we began the year, stewardship, and then we moved to talking about portfolio growth, and then we moved to talking about savings. And the only natural thing to talk about after savings is investment. So we want to really continue on that conversation. And actually, the series is not new. Come to think of it, we're in episode 3. Sorry, guys. I think I'm just excited to be here with you. So today, though, it's interesting because we are going to talk about building foundations and why that is so important when it comes to your investment journey. So allow me to take us to the first scripture. Yeah, you know the drill. And that is from the book of Proverbs, chapter 10, verse 24. And it says, "What the wicked dread will come upon him, but the desire of the righteous will be granted." It's such a beautiful scripture. I'm reading it from ESV. You're free to explore it in other versions. And the word is reminding us that when we have a desire to grow in our finances, it's not only about our life, that God is present to bless us and to see that it comes to fruition. Then let's go to Proverbs chapter 12, verse 27. And it says, "Whoever is slothful will not roast his game, but the diligent man will get precious wealth." Remember, one of the things we've been building up is understanding, accepting, knowing that God genuinely desires for us to do well financially. It's not just us, but it's right from the word of God. And we see that assurance that if we are diligent in what we do, we will build wealth. So we are being called against being slothful. Another word for slothful is lazy. I was listening to an interesting minister. This one is American this time. It's always Nigerian. Today, this one is American. And she was saying, today she's really worried because she's seeing a culture of, we keep extending our hand to give people money. Like, I need money for this, I need money for that. And someone is not being encouraged or charged to work. Whatever work, provided it's good work, but being encouraged to work, because first, work brings dignity. And second, work is a way of expressing ourselves. And third, work is our way of connecting with God, because God himself is a worker. So she was explaining that a few years back, maybe, I don't know, 80s, 70s, that people had 2 or 3 jobs. And this is not like strenuous, but they had these jobs because they knew they needed to make ends meet, and they put the effort out there, and they were able to meet all their needs. So it was really an encouragement to us. How are we using what is in our hands to make sure that we are doing more with it and we are continuing to grow? So when I talk about foundations, I'm currently based in Kenya, which is a country in Africa, one of the 54 countries on this continent. And there's something that has been so strong in my heart is the need to invest at home, the need to invest in our continent, and investing in Africa is important. When I was a bit younger, when I say when I was young, you guys will be like, huh? When I was a bit younger, one of the opportunities I had was to travel and just explore other continents, see how they do life. And one of the things I remember that really caught me distinctly was there's a country I visited, and it was early morning. Like, you know, those days you have just a super early morning. And one of the things that was happening was the streets were being cleaned with literally a tractor, if I can call it that, with water and a scrubber. And I was like, what? These guys really value the things that they have in their country. And as I took some time to just learn about that economy, learn about how things run, I realized that they've really invested in things that will support not only the citizen who wants to do well, but even the well-to-do citizen. Like, it's so fair. The citizen who's also not so well. Like, there are things in place to make sure that everybody is growing. And I began to ask myself, what does that mean for the African continent? And every time I would travel, I'd feel that weight of responsibility. Like, when we look at statistics, I've studied, I've gotten to go to university. There are very few people who go to university. If we even add very few women who go to university. So I've begun to see that there is a weight of responsibility to help people to see the value of what we have within our continent. Believe it or not, a lot of people are facing this way. You've heard, for those who listen to discussions on development. You've had people talk about the global south, which ideally means like African countries, Latin America, and things like that, because the opportunities here are numerous. So for me, Africa is my home. I'm part of the African family. And one of the things that we are not realizing is we have very robust long-term economic fundamentals. It might look tricky now. The leaders we're electing, we're worried about it, and we're thinking, but generations that are coming after are asking more questions. They're holding the leadership more to account, and they are holding themselves more to account. This is one of the generations where information flows in seconds. Literally, the president of whichever country says something, if it's relevant to the rest of the world, it has gotten there. To the point where even people demand a national apology if it's something that's wrong, you know? So we are living in an age where things can begin to flourish as we look at the long-term game. But we must also put up rigorous structures in place. And this is where the structures are so good that even laziness cannot allow us to fail. I always remember one of the long-term investment gurus would have a quote that he would say, invest in a company that one day a fool could run it, because one day this could happen. And what was he talking about? The fundamentals, the foundations, the structures that are in place in that company are so good that even if the wrong person happens to pass through that system, the system will be able to sieve them out, because who they are cannot destroy what has been put in place. And when we think about this continent, one of the biggest crises we have faced, in the old language, we used to call it brain drain. And this is where the best of the best get to study in other regions, and they move and they settle there. And they're just like, you know what? I'm going to make this my home, and I'm going to build the economy here. And today we call it labor loss, meaning that the people have studied, many of them even have their roots here. They've done their lower education here, maybe go away for master's or PhD, and then that labor goes and becomes part of another economy. Because sometimes they're thinking of their own economy and they're like, will it really be valued? Will I get the money for what I have put in? And this is clean money. We're not talking about some of this other money. So you find that people, because of the strength of other currencies, because of the opportunities that they feel they have out there, they want to work in other economies. But we have to keep reminding ourselves, if we don't build our own home, who will build it? And that our home has investments that we can think about and actually work to build. Last year, I did a series on just investing in different regions in the African continent, and I'll put the links below. And why I was doing that is for us to begin to see how the regions have different strengths. East Africa has its strengths because of the water bodies. There's a lot of transport by sea. We have one of the best weather, so certain crops do well here. South Africa has another strength, again, because of the water, because of its developed financial markets, you know. West Africa has another strength in numbers. West Africa has a very good population. Things go there very fast. This week, I was doing a different research on just global platforms and local platforms for selling online. And some of these big names literally have handles with at the particular country because of the flow of a trade that is happening in that region. So it's very important for us to remember where we are coming from. We cannot aim to be the one tree that grows, then everybody will pick a fruit from it. Our aim must be to be a tree that grows, but a tree that also allows for other seedlings to come around it and grow too, so that there are many trees that can give a good shade, and there are many opportunities for other people. For people who like plants, you know how, for instance, the snake plant grows. You put one, 6 months later, you have multiples. Same with aloe vera. You put one and you see small flowers. I have these two plants, and anytime a friend of mine is like, oh, I want a plant, I'm like, I'll give you from my aloe vera. Like, I have more than enough. I even need to, for it to go and find another home. So recently, one of my aloe veras had died, and then I managed to salvage just a small portion, and I was like, okay, let me try and just regrow it, because it was a really good aloe vera. What I had totally forgotten is I had given that aloe vera when it was budding to a friend of mine. So she had a very good aloe vera plant growing. And I was like, yes, if mine does not grow, she can cut for me from hers and I can begin my journey again of growing that particular aloe vera. And that's kind of the mindset we have to have as we are growing our investments. We have to begin to ask ourselves, what are the homegrown solutions around investment? What are the strengths? I think I've shared this before. Forgive me if I'm repeating, that there's someone who wanted to set up a business, and when they did the math, and this is in East Africa, they realized it's easier to set up the business in another country and then come and trade in their own country. And that's exactly what they did. And it's really just opening your eyes to the opportunities that this continent can offer to us. And that means we must set up a foundation of financial wellness. That's the reason we invest. We're investing so that we can set up a foundation for financial wellness versus financial stress. One of the trees that is known like to do really well in terms of longevity is the baobab tree. So the baobab tree has a very interesting strength. The root system is strong. So you can find a really old baobab tree in the forest and you're asking yourself, why is this tree still alive? How comes it's been able to hack, the extreme weathers? It looks like it actually doesn't have much as a tree on top. But when underground was looked into, the other trees were holding it and it stayed very stable. And another core thing with the baobab tree is that root system is the reason why it can grow so tall. And there's a quote that says the baobab tree cannot be the one flourishing in the sky if it has not established its root system. So a root system, a foundation towards your investment is going to be extremely key. So allow me to give us some definitions just to give us context to what I mean when I'm asking us, like, think about financial wellness. Think about financial stress. What does it mean? How can you angle yourself in the right way with the right foundations for where you are, for those around you, and for where you're going? One of the leaders, and okay, I want to mention the names, but I'm like, let's leave it. But for those who love history, like, one of the leaders who a few years back, would now be maybe 10 to 15, who came, he died such a miserable death. And of course, there are people who said there's another side to his story. But his country is up north. Once I do that, I know you will know. And I remember one of the statistics around that country was children were born into wealth. Like literally, because that country is known for oil, stay with me, you can see it, the children were born into wealth. And during the time when another country down south was seeking, like independence, and this was long-term independence, this country got its independence a few years, many years actually after others, this country was one of the people funding the fight for independence in this other country. And you see the power of strength within economies in our continent. So let's do some definitions. What does financial wellness mean? When I sit down and I tell you, hey, you're listening to me, you've been listening, you need to be in financial wellness. It means that you have enough income, whether it's through business, whether it's through salary, whether it's through different types of incomes that you have structured for yourself, you have enough to meet your day-to-day needs. And it doesn't mean like these extravagant needs, but it means the core needs. You can pay for housing, you can buy food, you can travel if needed. It's the very core things that need to be done that you can do. You can save without a problem. Your net worth is positive. The money that is going in versus the money that is going out is not a problem. You can invest and you have stable income coming back from those investments. You can access quality healthcare. Yes. You can access quality education, not high-end, not quality, and you can work towards planning for the later years of your life. Whether you have capacity to work until 50, 60, 70, but you're able to plan to have a stable income throughout all of your life seasons. So when you think about investing with an angle towards financial wellness, these are the things that you're desiring to be able to do. The next thing is, so what is financial stress? What is this thing that is weighing us down, that we are not able to think about our investments and begin to build an investment strategy and grow our portfolio. So first of all, you have to understand that financial stress is when you find yourself at a place that you're worrying about how needs will be met. And this is not short term, it can be like a month, 2 months, no. This is like over a long period of time. Then you're living from salary to salary, from income to income. If the income doesn't come now, you're done for. That chapter is closed, we are not eating, we are not moving. Then there's a consistent negative net worth. The things you're spending are outweighing what is coming in. Then you're living in debt for life's basic needs, not the big debts, I'm doing this, like it's debt of 100 bob for that, 200 bob for that, 1,000 bob for that. So life's basic needs are not being met. You're not accessing quality healthcare. You're not affording quality education, and you're not doing any personal development, no investment, no retirement planning. And it seems like such a grim thing, but I also want to tell us that each of us will be at different levels. Someone right now can be able to save, but they are not yet able to invest. Someone will be able to think about retirement planning, but they are still clearing debt. But the important thing is you're weighing your financial wellness versus your financial stress, and you're asking yourself, how can I build? What foundations do I need to have in place that will enable me to get to a place of investments? I've said this before, you'll hear me say it many times. The middle class, upper middle class, lower middle class, excellent at keeping money aside. Someone was telling me recently about how they know someone who has a good amount of money in their account, but it's not growing. It's not adding value. And that's the thing. We have to have foundations, right foundations, that will make sure that we are growing away from financial stress and growing into financial freedom, financial wellness, financial stability, wealth building, the ability to do more, not only for us, but for those around us. One of the wealths of the African continent is that when one person does well and they carry a heart for the others to do well, they are able to lift them up. And this is not the traditional way of, handouts, no. This is a way of seeing collection of ideas, collection of opportunities. I was reading recently on Instagram, and they were challenging families and telling them, each of you have different skill sets, and each of you can contribute differently to growing a family wealth portfolio, to investing together. And you document it, you make it official, so that also someone doesn't say, hey, it's my brother, it's my sister. No, you make it official. It's the company, it's the group, it's the this, and you will see the capacity to build investment from the right foundation being very, very key. Looking forward to hear your journey. Thank you so much for listening. God bless you. It's Ahawo.